Hello and welcome to First Draft Clue here on twitch.tv/live action roleplay. I'm going to introduce our lovely cast right now, so just tell us who you are, your pronouns, and what character you are playing. I'm going to start off with Aki.
Hi, Aki. You didn't say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Hi, everyone. I'm Aki, and my pronouns are they, them, and I'm playing, I don't know, I guess I'm playing Mr. Green. Yeah, I'm playing Mr. Green.
All right, thank you. Next we go over to Finn. Say hi, Finn.
Hi, Finn. I'm just. I'm not playing anyone. I'm just here. I do Foley work.
You're playing the cook.
Yeah.
And Foley work is amazing. The most amazing Foley work.
Thank you. Please, someone else go now.
All right. All right. Next, we're gonna go over to Joey. Say hi, Joey.
Hi, Joey. Hi, I'm Joey, and I'm he/him, and I will be playing Mrs. White. Yay!
Yes. Thank you, Joey, for filling in last minute. We love Alicia Marie. Like, she had to step back a little bit, and he managed to come in last minute. So thank you for filling in. Next, we go over to Christine. Say hi, Christine.
Hi, Christine. I'm Christine Hassay. I'm playing Mrs. Peacock with a peacock feather on my fur instead of my hair so it doesn't disappear into the screen.
All right, thank you. Next, we go over to Vince. Say hi, Vince.
Hi, Vince. I'm Vince Caso playing Wadsworth the butler. My pronouns are he/him, and just looking to throw down and have some fun with all me good friends here.
All right. I hear that there's a little bit of echo. And so we'll.
That's just Finn.
Yeah. So we'll have you turn off your mic. Okay, it's great. Next, we go over to KP. Say hi, KP.
Hi, KP. Hello, everybody. My name's KP, and I will be playing Professor Plum tonight. So yeah, hence the Plum outfit.
Oh,
on point.
Oh, it's a bit.
I know,
it's a
shocking.
Bit. Oh.
I know. I'm kind of, I'm very on the nose tonight.
I need to go change.
Nice. Next, we're gonna go over to Tobias. Say hi, Tobias.
Hi, Tobias. I'm Tobias McCurry. Pronouns are he, him, his. I'll be portraying the role of Mr. Boddy. I also took inspiration from KP dressing the part because I am dead inside.
Oh, beans.
Get it? Because I'm
and outside soon.
That's the joke.
Let's laugh and pretend that was a joke.
No, I'm very excited to play tonight. It'll be good.
Next, we go over to Chris. Say hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris. I'll be playing the narrator, which is not a character, but we're doing a reading of a script. So there's a lot of stage direction, a lot of words. So I'll be talking pretty fast, actually, because we don't want this to take like 4 full hours. So hang in there, and we're going to get through it. I use he, him pronouns, and I think I'm a little typecast to wear vests and ties and say lots of words accurately and fast. But I'll live with it.
All right. Next, we're going to go over to Harli. Say hi, Harli.
All right, everybody, say it.
Hi, Harli.
There you go. Good job. I'm Harli Kane, and I am playing Yvette, the French maid.
I had like a grade school flashback just now. That was a wild experience.
You're welcome.
So your grade school teacher also wore a French maid outfit. Got it.
It's uncanny.
Damn, I wanted to be in that school.
Man, I took the wrong language in high school, clearly.
This is basically what I wore to first day of kindergarten, so...
Love it.
Next, we go over to Sin. Say hi, Sin.
Hola, Cynthia.
Hey.
Cynthia Marie. Hi, y'all. I am playing Miss Scarlet. You'll notice that she has a little bit of a twist to her. My pronouns are she, her, and I am terribly nervous because I am not an actor.
Ah, you got this.
You got this.
I forgot my pronouns. I'm sorry, I'm she, they. Sorry, I forgot. Okay.
That's okay.
No worries. Also, not an actor here as well, Sin, so...
Lies, based off of what I've seen. Lies, or at least pretend to be actors today.
That's what acting is.
That's what acting is. Last but not least, Trevor. Say hi, Trevor.
Hi, Trevor. I'm Trevor Valle, and tonight I will be playing, obviously, Colonel Mustard.
All right. So a couple of notes before we begin. Number one, so this is first draft clue. So we're actually reading an earlier draft of the movie script of Clue. A lot of it has been edited out because they are known to have very long descriptions that are 5 sentences long when it could be summarized in 5 words. So I've abbreviated a lot of the extra narration and rewrote it so that's more of a stage play. Some of the players want to add some of the original dialogue that they had that was not already in the early version of the script. So we added that in. And we're using the 4th ending that was never filmed, because in the early draft of the script, there were 4 endings. So if you happen to know the 4th ending, please don't spoil that for everyone. Please allow people to play along. But it is a logical ending based off of what is happening in the script. And
guess the killer in your hearts.
Guess the killers in your hearts, exactly.
Or in chat. I suppose we'll allow guesses in chat.
I mean, we can't stop it.
And bonus. Oh, sorry. And I've already told my cast bonus points if you can crack up your castmates with your performance. So.
It's on.
Yep. Challenge is on.
Pressure.
Challenge is on. And for people who have been asking, a VOD will be posted of this performance later this week on YouTube. I will take the time to do that. All right. With that, let's go ahead and start with the beginning. Chris, it is your read.
Thank you. Welcome to Clue. Fade in. Exterior, a house on a hill. It is a house of terror. Imposing, gothic, gloomy, menacing. The weather is overcast. A watery moon struggles to break through clouds. A thunderstorm is on the way. A car turns off a highway onto a country lane, leading toward the closed gates of the house. The driver's name is Wadsworth, a butler. He opens the gates and enters the private driveway. Exterior, front door, night. Wadsworth gets out of the car and locks it methodically. 2 savage-looking German shepherds at the front door snarl and bare their teeth, leaping at him. He throws a chunk of raw meat to the dogs. They fall upon it hungrily and retreat to the side of the steps. Wadsworth is relieved. He steps back, eyes them, satisfied, produces a key from his overcoat pocket, turns, then steps in dog shit. Interior, the hall, night. He stops at the open dining room door and looks in. The table is beautifully and meticulously laid for dinner for 7. Interior, the library, night. Yvette is the French maid, with a great figure tightly encased in a maid's uniform. She has been polishing a glass and dancing to the latest music on the radio.
Is everything ready?
Oui, monsieur.
You have your instructions.
Wadsworth leaves the library, sniffs, and makes a face. Wadsworth crosses the hall to the kitchen. Yvette looks at the bottom of her shoes, puzzled. We hear a scraping sound. Interior, the kitchen, night. Wadsworth comes in. The cook is sharpening a large, shiny carving knife. In the background is a black and white film of Senator Joseph McCarthy of Wisconsin in the 1950s hearing on the House Committee on Un-American Activities.
Everything all right, Mrs. Ho?
Dinner will be ready at 9:30.
Oh, my goodness.
She settles down and watches the TV as Wadsworth leaves. Exterior, front door, night. A man's hand grasps hold of the bell pull. Interior, the hall, night. Wadsworth is crossing the hall. The bell stops clanging. He looks at his watch and nods. Everything in order. He opens the door. We see a smartly turned out man. He is eyeing the dogs.
Good evening.
Good evening. I don't know if...
Yes, indeed, sir. You are expected, Colonel. May I take your coat? It is Colonel Mustard, isn't it?
No, that's not my name. I'm Colonel...
Forgive me, but tonight you may well be obliged to my employer for the use of a pseudonym.
So who exactly are you?
I am Wadsworth, sir, the butler.
And he leads the way across the hall. Colonel Mustard enters with reluctance and suspicion, looking up and around at the high, cold, Gothic hall, lit by a flickering chandelier. Interior, library, night. Yvette is pouring champagne at the drinks table as Wadsworth and Colonel Mustard enter. Yvette and the Colonel look at each other with particular interest. Wadsworth notices.
Yvette, would you attend to the Colonel and give him anything he requires? Within reason, that is.
There is a ring at the doorbell again. Wadsworth leaves, shutting the door behind him softly. The door, like all the walls of this room, is covered in bookshelves. Colonel Mustard turns to speak to Wadsworth just as the door is closed. He can't even see where the door was.
But what? Wadsworth? Where'd he go?
Interior, front door, night. Wadsworth opens the front door to find Mrs. White standing there. She's a pale, tragic, but beautiful-looking woman in her 30s.
Do come in, madam. You are expected.
Do you know who I am?
Only that you are to be known as Mrs. White.
Yes, it said so in the letter, but why?
She steps inside. He helps her off with her coat. He hangs it up. She sniffs, wrinkling her nose in distaste. Then she checks her shoes. Interior, library. Colonel Mustard is still looking for the door handle. Yvette is handing a drink to Colonel Mustard. Suddenly, the door opens and flattens him against the wall. Wadsworth enters, followed by Mrs. White.
May I introduce you? Mrs. White, this is Yvette, the maid. I see you know each other.
Mrs. White and Yvette eye each other. Then their eyes turn, in fear, to Wadsworth. Colonel Mustard appears from behind the bookcase door.
Oh, are you all right, Colonel?
Exterior, the country lane, night. A rumble of thunder. A stunningly attractive woman, Miss Scarlet, is bending over the hood of her automobile. The engine is dead. In the distance, she sees headlights coming toward her. She tries to attract the attention of the passing car. Interior, Professor Plum's car, night. Professor Plum is driving along. He's listening to Senator Joseph McCarthy coming live from a hearing of the House Committee on Un-American Activities. He sees Miss Scarlet and eyes her carefully as he drives past, deciding that she's rather a dish. He slows down, stops, and reverses back to her.
What's the problem?
My car.
Want a lift? It's perfectly safe.
Yes, please. I'm late for a dinner date.
She gets in.
Me too. Where are you going?
You know this part of the world?
Nope.
I mean, neither.
She gets a letter out of her purse.
I'm going to Hill House off of Route 41.
Wait a minute. Let me look at that. That's where I'm going. I got a letter like this.
They look at each other with a mixture of interest and suspicion. Heavy drops of rain start to follow the windshield. He drives on. Interior, the library, night. Wadsworth is introducing Mrs. Peacock to Mrs. White and Colonel Mustard. Mrs. Peacock is a wealthy woman with jewels and a fur stole with foxtails. She has considerable vanity.
And this is Mrs. Peacock.
How do you do?
So?
Yvette, would you please go and check that dinner will be ready just as soon as all the guests have arrived?
Yvette goes. Wadsworth, too. Mrs. Peacock watches her go with slight incredulity. Yvette has apparently been poured into her tight little dress. Then Mrs. Peacock sniffs and surreptitiously checks her feet, then looks at the others' feet. Exterior, the house, night. A dapper young man, tall, slim, bespectacled, and exquisitely turned out, waits by the front door. Wadsworth opens it.
Is this the right address to meet Mr. Boddy?
You must be Mr. Green.
Mr. Green nods anxiously. One of the two dogs is straining at the leash.
Sit!
Mr. Green immediately sits on a chair just inside the front door.
Oh, not you, sir.
Interior, Professor Plum's car, night. Professor Plum is driving. Miss Scarlet is map reading.
It should be just along here. Oh, why has the car stopped?
It's frightening.
Professor Plum restarts the engine, and the car moves forward through the gates. Professor Plum and Miss Scarlet eventually hurry out of the car amid the torrential downpour and ring the doorbell. He puts his coat over her head to protect her from the rain.
What a godforsaken place.
Wadsworth opens the door. He is surprised.
Professor Plum and Miss Scarlet, I didn't realize you were acquainted.
We weren't.
Interior, the library, night. Colonel Mustard, Mrs. White, Mrs. Peacock, and Mr. Green are standing around nervously, not talking to each other, looking up and around at the great bookcases filled with leather-bound volumes. Wadsworth enters.
May I present Professor Plum and Miss Scarlet?
They nod. He takes a silver salver from Yvette and offers the 2 glasses on it to Miss Scarlet and Professor Plum. Mr. Green takes one. They all sip their champagne. The log fire crackles and spits.
Of course, since you have each been addressed by a pseudonym, you will have realized that nobody here is being addressed by their real name.
They all glance nervously at each other with renewed suspicion. There is a terrifying crash. Everyone jumps. Mr. Green's champagne shoots out of his glass all over himself and Mrs. Peacock.
Ah, dinner.
Mr. Green is mopping up Mrs. Peacock.
I'm sorry. I'm a little accident prone.
Wadsworth leads everyone to the dining room.
Walk this way.
Interior, dining room. They all crowd in through the door and hesitate as they see the beautiful long mahogany table, silver cutlery, Wedgwood china, crystals and crystal decanters, and goblets.
You will find your names beside your places. Please do be seated.
They all sit at the table. There is one empty place at the head of the table.
Is this place for you?
Oh, indeed no, sir. I am merely a humble butler.
So what exactly do you do?
I buttle, sir.
Which means what?
The butler is the head of the kitchen and dining room. I keep everything tidy, that's all.
I see.
Well, what's all this about, Butler? This dinner party?
Ours not to reason why, ours but to do and die.
Die?
Oh, merely quoting, sir, from Alfred Lord Tennyson.
I prefer Kipling myself. The female of the species is more deadly than the male.
The ladies all stare at him coldly. Mustard picks up a plate of hors d'oeuvres and offers it to Miss Scarlet.
Do you like Kipling, Miss Scarlet?
Sure, I'll eat anything.
Yvette goes round the table with soup bowls.
The shark fin soup, madame?
Colonel Mustard indicates the elegant Chippendale armchair at the head of the table.
So is this for our host?
No, sir, for the 7th guest, Mr. Boddy.
I thought Mr. Boddy was our host.
So did I.
So did I.
So who is our host, Wadsworth?
Wadsworth ignores the question, but he is pouring the wine and may not have heard.
Well, I'm going to get started while it's still hot.
He picks up his spoon, then sees that not everyone has been served.
Shouldn't we wait for the other guest?
I will keep something warm for him.
What did you have in mind, dear?
Professor Plum sees that everyone has been served and starts eating. So do the others. Yvette goes out to the kitchen, followed by Wadsworth.
Well, somebody's got to break the ice, so it might as well be me. I mean, I'm used to being a hostess. It's part of my husband's work, and it's always difficult when a group of new friends meet together for the first time to get acquainted. So I'm perfectly prepared to start the ball rolling. I mean, I have absolutely no idea what we're doing here or what I'm doing here or what this place is all about, but I am determined to enjoy myself and very intrigued. And oh my, this soup is delicious, isn't it?
You say you're used to being a hostess as part of your husband's work.
Yes, it's an integral part of your life when you're the wife of a... Oh, but then I forget. We're not supposed to say who we really are we? Though heavens to Betsy, I don't know why.
Don't you?
I know who you are.
Aren't you going to tell us?
But how do you know who I am?
I work in Washington, too.
Washington, so you're a politician's wife.
Yes, I am.
Come on then, so who's your husband?
The door opens suddenly. They all jump a little. Wadsworth comes in and indicates to Yvette to come in and collect the soup bowls. She does so in a tense silence and departs with Wadsworth, who closes the door behind them. Conversation continues as soon as they leave.
And what does your husband do?
Nothing.
Nothing at all?
Well, he just lies around on his back all day.
Sounds like hard work to me.
They all look at Miss Scarlet. Suddenly, a panel opens behind them. They all jump. Mr. Green spills food over Miss Scarlet.
I'm sorry. I'm a little accident prone.
We see the panel is a hatch into the kitchen. Yvette is placing the main course in the hatch.
Excusez-moi.
We see the cook dishing up food in the background. Wadsworth comes into the dining room and starts placing the main course in front of each guest. It is Chinese food. Mrs. Peacock tastes it.
Delicious. I mean, this is one of my favorite recipes.
I know, madame.
She looks at him with further curiosity. Wadsworth tops up a wine glass.
So what do you do in Washington, D.C., Mr. Green? Come on. What do you do? How are we to get acquainted if we don't say anything about ourselves?
Perhaps he doesn't want to get acquainted with you.
Well, I don't know why, for sure. If I wasn't trying to keep the conversation going, we'd all be sitting here in embarrassed silence.
Are you afraid of silence, Mrs. Peacock?
No, why?
It just seems to me that you are. You seem to suffer from what we call pressure of speech.
We? Who's we? Are you a shrink?
I do know a little bit about psychology medicine myself. Psychological medicine.
You're a doctor?
I am. I don't practice.
But practice makes perfect. I think most men need a little practice, don't you, Mrs. Peacock?
So what do you do, Professor?
I work for UNO, the United Nations organization.
Another politician? Jesus.
No, I work for a branch of UNO, WHO, the World Health Organization.
And what's your area of special concern?
Family planning.
So if you ever want to find out about you know what, you can go to you know who.
So, what about you, Colonel Mustard? Are you a real colonel?
I am, sir.
You're not going to mention the coincidence that you also live in Washington, D.C.
Colonel Mustard stops eating with a fork full of food halfway to his mouth.
How did you know that? Have we met before, ma'am?
I've certainly seen you before, but though you may not have noticed me, I dare say.
Miss Scarlet, does that mean you live there too?
Sure do.
Wait, does anyone here not live in Washington, D.C.?
I don't.
But you work for UNO, a government job, and the rest of us all live in a government town. Anyone here not earn their living from the government one way or the other?
They all look at each other. Colonel Mustard stands up.
Wadsworth, where is our host, and why have we been brought here?
Interior, the hall. Wadsworth opens the door, and standing there is an unprepossessing man. There is about him an air of malevolence, bitterness, perhaps even evil. He carries a small locked suitcase. There is a tremendous flash of lightning. Wadsworth seems pleased to see him in an odd sort of way.
Ah, Mr. Boddy, you are eagerly awaited.
I find that hard to believe. This is not your place, I take it?
No, sir, it is on loan.
And what are you supposed to be?
Wadsworth closes the front door.
I'm supposed to be polite, though when talking to you, I find that task is almost beyond me.
Wadsworth is hanging up Mr. Boddy's hat, coat, and umbrella. The guests all eavesdrop on the conversation from the dining hall.
Just one thing, Wadsworth. Remember, I know who you really are, and don't you forget it.
Shall I take your bag?
No, I'll leave it here until I need it.
As you wish. It contains evidence, I presume.
Surprises, my friend. That's what it contains. Surprises.
He puts it under the coat rack. As he does so, Wadsworth turns back to the front door and locks it with a deadbolt key.
May I see that key?
Over my dead body, sir.
Mr. Boddy gives a little smile. Wadsworth sets off across the hall to the dining room. Mr. Boddy follows.
Have you just arrived from Washington, sir?
Oh, yes. It's a long haul.
Indeed, it is a log hall, but then it's a very large house.
You think you're quite a fellow, don't you?
Yes.
Interior dining room. All the guests are eating in silence. Wadsworth enters, followed by Mr. Boddy. Everyone turns to look at Mr. Boddy as he enters. He stops dead, slightly frightened when he sees them all. They look at him with curiosity. It should be clear to us, he recognizes them, but none of them recognizes him.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Mr. Boddy?
What are they all doing here?
Eating dinner. Do sit down, Mr. Boddy.
Oh, thank you.
Yvette starts to serve him.
I'm afraid he won't want that, Yvette. You can take that away.
Fine.
Look, I demand to know what's going on. Now, why have we all been dragged up to this horrible place?
Well, I believe we all received a letter. My letter says, "It will be to your advantage to be present on this date because a Mr. Boddy will bring to an end a certain long-standing, confidential, and painful financial liability. It is signed a friend."
I got a similar letter.
So did we.
So did
didn't
we.
I also received a letter.
Yvette places the main course in front of Mr. Boddy. He waves it away.
No thanks, Yvette. I'm not hungry.
How did you know her name?
Mr. Boddy smiles at Yvette and slides his hand up her skirt. She edges away, disgusted.
Oh, we know each other, don't we, dear?
Forgive my curiosity, Mr. Boddy, but did your letter say the same thing?
No.
I see. Can I interest any of you in fruit or dessert?
No one is interested. They shake their heads. Much of the main course has been uneaten.
In that case, may I suggest that we adjourn to the study for coffee and brandy, at which point I believe our unknown host will reveal his intentions.
Well, ladies first.
Interior, the study. It is empty. The guests, led by Wadsworth, cross the hall from the dining room. They stop and look around.
It is empty.
Mind if I smoke?
She offers cigarettes. Professor Plum takes one and lights them both up.
Please help yourself to coffee and brandy, and do be seated.
On the desk, there is a plain brown envelope simply addressed to Wadsworth. Please open after dinner. Sitting in silence, as they all watch him, Wadsworth picks up a fancy letter opener and opens the brown manila envelope.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am instructed to explain to you what you all have in common with each other. Unless you would care to do the honors, Mr. Boddy.
Why me? Do they know who I am?
I don't think so. You've never identified yourself to them, I believe.
Why? Who are you?
We have all been dragged here for nothing. It's a hoax, and I suggest we all leave.
I'm sorry, sir, but you cannot leave this house.
No.
Interior, the hall. Mr. Boddy hurries toward the front door. Wadsworth appears.
You can't leave.
Who's going to stop me?
There's no way out.
Mr. Boddy tries to open the front door. It is locked. As he does so, all of the guests crush into the doorway to watch.
This is an outrage. How dare you hold us prisoner?
Here, here.
He's right.
You have no right to
Getting
do this.
very frightened.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Please return to the study and all will be explained. You too, Mr. Boddy.
They turn. Reluctantly, Mr. Boddy follows. Over Mr. Boddy's shoulder, he sees the conservatory. He hurries towards it.
Okay, other way.
But Mr. Boddy takes no notice, so Wadsworth hastens down the hall in pursuit of Mr. Boddy. Interior, the conservatory, night. Huge green creeping vegetation covers the room. There are many potential lurking places in here. The rain is beating down loudly on the glass roof. Mr. Boddy runs in, then jumps onto a ledge at the far end and picks up a flower pot, preparing to break the glass. Wadsworth runs into the conservatory.
You can't get out that way.
Why not? It's just glass.
Look!
A vicious, snarling Doberman Pinscher leaps up at the side of the conservatory.
Very
Interior,
specific dog breed.
Interior, the study. Everyone is sitting. Yvette sees that they have refills of coffee and starts to hand brandies around. Brandies are silently accepted by Colonel Mustard, Professor Plum, and Miss Scarlet. Wadsworth stands in front of the crackling log fire and consults the contents of the manila envelope.
Ladies and gentlemen, you all have one thing in common. You are all being blackmailed. For some considerable time, all of you have been paying what you can afford, and in some cases, more than you can afford, to someone who threatened to expose you. And none of you know who's blackmailing you, do you?
I've never heard anything so ridiculous. Nobody could blackmail me. My life's an open book. I've never done anything wrong.
Anyone else wish to deny it? Very well. As everyone here is in the same boat, there is no harm in revealing some details, and my instructions here are to do so.
He looks through some typewritten letters that were in the brown envelope. He nods to Yvette to leave the room, and she closes the door behind her.
Don't you think you might spare us this humiliation?
I'm sorry. Professor Plum, you were once a professor of psychiatry specializing in helping paranoid and homicidal lunatics suffering from delusions of grandeur. Is that right? Well, now you work at the United Nations, so your work has not changed. But you don't practice medicine at the UN, do you? Your license to practice has been lifted, is that correct?
Why, what did he do?
You know what doctors aren't allowed to do with their patients?
See?
Well, he did.
Disgusting.
Are you asking for moral judgments, Mrs. Peacock? How then do you justify taking bribes in return for delivering your husband, Senator Peacock's vote, to certain lobbyists?
My husband's a paid consultant. There's nothing wrong with that.
Not if it's publicly declared, but if the payment is delivered by slipping used greenbacks in plain envelopes under the door of the men's room, how would you describe that transaction?
I'd say it stank.
How would you know? You've never been in the men's room.
So it's true.
No, it's a vicious lie.
I'm sure we are all glad to hear that, but you've been paying blackmail for over a year now to keep this story out of the papers.
I'm willing to believe you. I'm also being blackmailed for something I didn't do.
Me too.
And me.
But not me.
You're not being blackmailed?
Oh, I'm being blackmailed, all right, but I did what I'm being blackmailed for.
What did you do?
Well, to be perfectly frank, I run a specialized hotel and a telephone service which provides gentlemen with the company of a young lady for a short while.
Oh yeah? What's the phone number?
Oh, men!
So how did you know that Colonel Mustard works in Washington? Is he one of your clients?
Certainly not.
I was asking Miss Scarlet.
We'll tell them it's not true.
It's not true.
Is that true?
No, that's not true.
Aha! So it is true.
A double negative.
Double negative? You mean you have photographs?
That sounds like a confession to me. In fact, the double negative has led to proof positive. I'm afraid you gave yourself away, sir.
Are you trying to make me look stupid in front of the other guests?
You don't need any help from me, sir.
That's right.
But seriously, I don't see what's so terrible about Colonel Mustard visiting a house of ill fame. Most soldiers do it, don't they?
Ah, but he holds a sensitive security post in the Pentagon. And Colonel, you drive a very expensive car for someone who lives on a colonel's pay.
I don't. I came into money during the war when I lost my mommy and daddy.
You lost them? Did you report this loss to the police?
No, dying is perfectly legal.
Sometimes, yes. On that note, Mrs. White, you have been paying our friend the blackmailer ever since your husband died under, shall we say, mysterious circumstances.
What's so funny?
I see. That's why he's laying on his back. He's in his coffin.
I didn't kill him.
And why are you paying the blackmailer?
I didn't want a scandal. We'd had a fight. He was crazy. He hated me. He threatened to kill me in public.
Why would he want to kill you in public?
I think she meant that he had threatened in public to kill her.
And was that his final word on the matter?
Being killed is pretty final, wouldn't you say?
And yet he was the one who died. Not you, Mrs. White. Not you.
What did he do for a living?
He was a scientist, nuclear physics.
What was he like?
He was a stupidly optimistic man. I'm afraid it came as a great shock to him when he died, but he was found dead at home. His head had been cut off, and so had his... Will you know?
She gestures vaguely in the direction of her groin. The men look at her in horror, and their hands go instinctively over their balls.
I've been out all evening, at the movies.
What was showing?
From Here to Eternity.
Well, that is rather appropriate, isn't it?
Do you miss him?
It's a matter of life after death. Now that he's dead, I have a life.
But he was your second husband. Your first also disappeared.
That was his job. He was an illusionist.
But he never reappeared.
He wasn't a very good illusionist.
I have something to say. I'm not going to wait for Wadsworth here to unmask me. I work for the State Department, and I am a homosexual. I feel no personal shame or guilt about this, but I have to keep it quiet, or I would lose my job on security grounds.
Well, that just leaves Mr. Boddy.
All eyes turn to Mr. Boddy. He says nothing.
What's your little secret?
His secret? Oh, I thought you'd all realized. He's the one blackmailing you all.
There is a flash of lightning. This information comes as a bombshell to all of them.
You bastard.
He moves menacingly towards Mr. Boddy. Mr. Boddy stands up, too. Wadsworth intervenes between them.
Colonel, please don't do anything rough.
Come on, put him up. Put him up.
He puts his fists up for an old-fashioned fight. Mr. Boddy responds by stamping abruptly on Colonel Mustard's foot, and as Colonel Mustard bends forward in pain to clutch his foot, Mr. Boddy neatly pokes him in the eyes with 2 fingers simultaneously. As Colonel Mustard yells and collapses, Mr. Boddy throws himself upon him and continues to beat him up. Mr. Green and Professor Plum rush to Colonel Mustard's rescue, hauling Mr. Boddy up off the struggling colonel. Mr. Boddy is struggling and fighting them off, too. He is very strong. Mrs. White, Miss Scarlet, and Mrs. Peacock are watching. As Mr. Boddy is hauled to his feet, Mrs. White steps calmly forward and knees him in the balls. As Mr. Boddy collapses in a heap, the other women clap and cheer, then run to start kicking him. Wadsworth shouts above the brawl.
Wait! The police are coming!
We gotta get out of here!
Listen! Blackmail depends on secrecy. You have all admitted how he's been able to blackmail you. All you have to do is tell the police. Then he will be convicted and your trouble will be over.
You see, Wadsworth, it's not so easy. They'll never tell the police.
Then I shall. I have evidence in my possession, and this conversation is being tape recorded.
Point of order, sir. Tape recordings aren't admissible evidence.
I'll deny everything.
I've admitted nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the police have already been invited. They will be here in 45 minutes. Tell them the truth, and Mr. Boddy will be behind bars.
They all stare at him in panic. Then Mr. Boddy walks to the door.
What are you doing this time?
Oh, I think I can help them make up their minds. May I just get my little bag from the hall?
Wadsworth is puzzled and worried. Mr. Boddy goes to the hall, picks his case up, and returns to the study. He places his attaché case on the desk, then turns to face his victims.
Can anybody guess what's in here?
The evidence against us, no doubt.
Mr. Boddy smiles, shakes his head, and opens the case. In the case are 6 gift-wrapped parcels. He hands one to each of his 6 guests.
We didn't know we were meeting you tonight. Did you know you were meeting us?
Oh, yes.
What were you told precisely?
Merely that you all were meeting to discuss our little financial arrangements, and that if I did not appear, Wadsworth would be informing the police about it all. Naturally, I could hardly resist putting in an appearance.
They are all staring at the smug, complacent, loathsome figure of Mr. Boddy, as he smiles wide.
Open them.
They look at the presents in their hands. Mr. Boddy pours himself a brandy from the decanter, sniffs the bouquet, and sips it.
Why not? I enjoy getting presents from strange men.
Slowly, she lifts the lid. Puzzled, she lifts out a heavy brass candlestick.
Ba ba ba.
She looks at Mr. Boddy.
A candlestick? What is this for?
Nobody else going to open up. Go on. Pretend it's Christmas.
Mrs. White opens her present and finds a rope. Then Colonel Mustard, who gets a wrench.
My God, that's massive.
Mr. Green. Mr. Green gets a lead pipe.
It's even bigger.
Mrs. Peacock gets a dagger.
Is that a Cuisinart?
And Professor Plum opens his present to reveal a revolver.
In your hands, you have a lethal weapon. If you denounce me to the police, you will also be exposed and humiliated. I'll see to that in court. But if one of you kills Wadsworth now, no one but the seven of us will ever know.
Wadsworth is appalled as the others eye him speculatively, weapons at the ready.
He has the key to the front door, which he told me would only be opened over his dead body. I suggest we take him up on that offer. The only way to avoid finding yourselves on the front pages is if you kill Wadsworth. Now!
Mr. Boddy switches off the lights.
Oh, jeez!
Thuds, gasps, screams, a gunshot. A sound of shattering glass. Scuffles, groans. The lights are switched on.
Oh shit!
And Mr. Boddy lies on the floor, prone, face down. They all stare at Mr. Boddy, then rush toward him.
Is he alive?
Stand back. Give him some air. Let me see.
He checks Mr. Boddy for signs of life.
He's dead.
Who had the gun?
I did.
So you shot him?
I didn't.
Well, you had the gun. If you didn't shoot him, who did?
Mr. Boddy is turned over.
Nobody. Look, there's no gunshot wound. Somebody tried to grab the gun from me in the dark and the gun went off. Look, the bullet broke the vase that's on the mantle.
He's right. There's a bullet lodged in the paneling. See? Right here.
So how did he die?
I don't know. I'm not a forensic expert.
But one of us must have killed him.
Everyone goes silent. They all look at each other, realizing that a murderer is among them.
I didn't do it.
I need a drink.
She goes to the door and gets Mr. Boddy's cognac. She sips.
Maybe he was poisoned.
Mrs. Peacock drops the glass in revulsion and starts to scream. She won't stop screaming. Mr. Green slaps her.
I had to stop her from screaming.
Was the brandy poisoned?
Was the brandy poisoned?
I don't know.
Scarlet picks up the glass. All the cognac has spilled out.
It looks like we'll never know.
Unless she dies too.
They all rush over to scrutinize Mrs. Peacock, and a scream erupts from another room.
Stop screaming, sir!
The screaming from the other room continues.
Why are you screaming? What of?
Screaming! There's somebody screaming next door!
Interior hall. The group rushes into the hall. The screaming is coming from the billiard room. Colonel Mustard tries the handle. It is locked. He pounds on the door.
Open the door!
It must be the murderer.
Why would he scream?
He must have a victim in there. Oh my God, Yvette!
Oh my God!
They bang on the door again. The screaming stops.
Hola? You who? They open the door?
Yvette opens the door. They rush in. Interior billiard room. There is silence, apart from a faint rhythmic clicking sound.
You're alive!
No thanks to you.
What do you mean?
You locked me up as a murderer.
The murderer is in this room.
Yes.
Where?
We're looking at him. It's what Mrs. White said in this study. One of you is the killer.
How do you know what she was said?
Yvette indicates the tape recorder making a clicking sound.
I was listening.
Why were you screaming in here? All by yourself?
Because I'm frightened, monsieur. I also drank the cognac, mon Dieu. I can't stay in here by myself.
Then come back to the study with us.
With a murderer?
Safety in numbers, my dear.
She nods. Wadsworth switches off the tape recorder. Interior, study.
Stop.
They return to the study. Mrs. Peacock is conscious and sitting on the sofa. Mr. Boddy is still on the floor.
Is there no indication of how he died?
No.
Oh, this is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. This is not what I'd intended. Oh my God.
Not what you intended.
So you're not the butler?
I'm not the butler, but I am a butler. In fact, I was his butler.
So if he told you to invite us all to this house, why did he arrive late?
I invited you. In fact, I wrote all the letters. All of this was my idea.
Wait a minute. I don't understand. Why did you invite us all here to meet your late employer? Were you assisting him in blackmailing us?
Certainly not.
I think you'd better explain.
Please sit down, everyone.
Everyone finds a seat, except Mr. Green, who is too late to find a seat and perches himself at the edge of a side table.
Right. When I...
Mr. Green's table collapses, spilling a lamp, all of liquor, and glasses that were on it.
I'm sorry. I'm a little accident prone.
He's a little what?
He's a pendejo.
Miss Scarlet lights up another of her ever-present cigarettes.
When I said that I was Mr. Boddy's butler, this was both true and misleading. I was once his butler, but it was not his untimely death this evening that brought my employment with him to an end. Oh, no.
When did it come to an end?
When my wife decided to end her life. She too was being blackmailed by this odious man who now lies dead before us. He hated my wife for the same reason he hated all of you. He believed that you were all thoroughly un-American. For some reason, he felt it was inappropriate for a senator to have a corrupt wife, for a doctor to screw his patients, for a wife to emasculate her husband, and so forth.
But that's ridiculous. If he was such a patriotic American, why didn't he report us to the relevant authorities?
He decided to put his information to good use and make a little money out of it. What could be more American than that? Mr. Boddy was truly the apostle of free enterprise. He became a rich man, but money is the fruit of all evil.
And what was your role in all of this?
I was a victim too. At least, my wife was.
Wadsworth, now tearful, wipes his eye with the back of his hand. Mrs. White offers him her handkerchief.
Fuck you guys.
Fuck you.
Well, we all make mistakes. My wife had friends in her line of work, and Mr. Boddy threatened to give my wife's name to the House Un-American Activities Committee unless she named them. She refused, and so he blackmailed her. We had no money, and the price of his silence was that we worked for him for nothing. We were slaves. Well, to make a long story short...
Too late.
The suicide of my wife preyed on my mind and created a sense of injustice in me. And I resolved to put Mr. Boddy behind bars. It seemed the best way to do it and to free all of you from the same burden of blackmail was to get everyone face to face, confront Mr. Boddy with his crimes, extract a confession, and then turn him over to the police.
So, everything's explained.
Nothing's explained. We still don't know who did it.
The point is, we've got to find out in the next 40 minutes before the police arrive.
The police? Coming here? Oh my God, the scandal. I'm a senator's wife. I'll be ruined.
But how can we possibly find out which of you did it?
What do you mean, which of you did it?
Well, I didn't do it.
Well, one of us did. We all had the opportunity. We all had a motive.
We'll all go to the chair.
Maybe it wasn't one of us.
Who else could it have been?
Who else is in this house?
Only
the cook.
The cook!
Interior, the kitchen, is a large old-fashioned kitchen with a range, oven, and old porcelain sink. And no cook. The guests look around.
She's not here.
Beside him, a cupboard door groans and opens. The cook falls face first out of the cupboard.
I've got
dead.
to oil those.
She has a dagger in her back. The cook is in Mr. Green's arms. He stands aghast.
I didn't do it. Help me, somebody.
Mrs. White, Colonel Mustard, and Miss Scarlet hurry forward and help lower the cook to the floor. Mrs. White reaches for the knife.
Don't touch that. It's evidence.
Not for us. We have to find out who did this, and we can't take fingerprints.
I think you'd better explain yourself, Wadsworth.
Me? Why me?
Who would want to kill the cook?
The dinner wasn't that bad.
I'm afraid she has reaped the fruits of her evil and received her just deserts.
If this was dessert, then I'm glad I said no.
How can you make jokes at a time like this?
It's my defense mechanism.
Well, some defense. If I was the killer, I would kill you next. I said if, that's all.
All right.
After all, there's only one admitted killer here, and that's not me, it's her.
He points at Mrs. White.
I've admitted nothing.
You paid the blackmail. How many husbands have you had?
Mine or other women's?
Yours.
5.
5?
Just the 5. Husband should be like Kleenex, soft, strong, and disposable.
So you don't believe in marriage?
I certainly do. Perhaps because I was educated in a convent, but I'm in the habit.
You lure men to their deaths like a spider with flies.
Flies are where men are most vulnerable.
Well, if it wasn't you, who was it? Who had the dagger? It was you, wasn't it, Peacock?
They all turn to look at her, her eyes averted from the dead body. She is suddenly frightened.
Yes, but I wrote it down.
Where?
In the study.
When?
I don't know, before I fainted. After I fainted, who knows? But any of you could have picked it up.
Look, I suggest we take the cook's body into the study.
Why?
I like to keep the kitchen tidy.
Got it.
The men carry the cook, who is a hefty lady, into the study. Interior, study. The men carry the cook's body into the study, but with all those men, they block the view of the women looking into the study. Professor Plum suddenly drops Mrs. Ho.
Look!
What?
The body's gone.
The men drop the cook's body. They look frightened. Mrs. Peacock tries to enter the study, but the men and the dead cook are obstructing the door.
What are you all staring at?
Nothing.
Well, who's there?
Nobody.
What do you mean?
Nobody. No body. That's what we mean. Mr. Boddy's body. It's gone.
The ladies are crowding into the doorway.
Maybe he wasn't dead.
We should have made sure.
Was.
By cutting his head off, I suppose?
That was uncalled for.
Well, where is he?
We'd better look for him.
They search the study, opening cupboards and cabinets.
He could have been dead. He couldn't have been dead.
He was. At least, I thought he was, but what difference does it make now?
It makes quite the difference to him. Maybe there is life after death.
Life after death is as improbable as sex after marriage.
Well, we've got to find out. The police will be here in 35 minutes, and we have another corpse on our hands.
Maybe he killed the cook.
Yes.
Yes.
How?
Well, if you'll excuse me, I have to, is there a ladies' room in the hall?
Oui, oui, madame.
Oh, no, I just have to powder my nose.
Mrs. Peacock hurries out. Miss Scarlet picks up the envelope that Wadsworth opened earlier and produces some photographic negatives.
Oh, what's this, Wadsworth?
I'm afraid those are the negatives to which Colonel Mustard earlier referred.
Oh my God.
Were you planning to blackmail him, Wadsworth?
Certainly not. Look at those sexy proof positive photos. I'd merely obtained them for the Colonel, and I was going to give them back as soon as Mr. Boddy was unmasked.
Very pretty. Would you like to see these, Yvette? They might shock you.
No, thank you. I am a lady.
And how do you know what kind of pictures they are if you're such a lady?
Sort of pictures are they?
How dare you, madam? Give those to me at once.
No, I think there's something in them that concerns me too.
Let me see.
He grabs them. Mrs. White, Miss Scarlet, and Mr. Green look over his shoulder.
Oh my. Nobody can get to that position.
Sure they can. I'll show you.
Plum starts to demonstrate the position on the sofa.
Get off me.
Just demonstrating.
Interior, the hall. Mrs. Peacock opens the door to the bathroom. Mr. Boddy's body falls out and lands in her outstretched arms. His head is bloody. The others run from the study to help her.
Mr. Boddy.
He's attacking her.
They pull the corpse off Miss Peacock.
No, he's not. Well, he's dead.
They lay him down.
Mr. Boddy? Dead? Again?
Oh my God!
Oh, she's going to faint!
Catch her!
I'll catch you. Fall into my arms.
Wadsworth holds out his arms, and she slips right through.
Sorry.
Mr. Green looks at his bloodied hands. So do all the others.
You've got blood on your hands.
I didn't do it!
He's got new injuries. Well, he's certainly dead now. Why would anyone want to kill him twice?
It seems so unnecessary.
It's what we call overkill.
It's what we call psychotic.
Unless he wasn't dead before.
What's the difference?
That's what we're trying to find out. We're trying to find out who killed him and where and with what. Like
There's
the board
no
game.
There's no need to shout.
I'm not shouting. All right, I am. I'm shouting. I'm shouting. I'm shouting. I'm shouting. Fuck
At
you.
which point, the candlestick, which had been nestled above the bathroom door, falls and hits him on the head. Wadsworth hits the floor. Interior.
Oh God!
Interior.
The
Why is it so wet? Interior. The study. Professor Plum, Colonel Mustard, and Mr. Green lug Mr. Boddy into the study. Their path is blocked by the cook's body.
All right, I'm in command now. Move the cook.
Mrs. White, Miss Scarlet, and Yvette drag the cook, who still has the dagger sticking out of her back.
All right, put the corpses on the sofa.
Careful, don't get blood on the sofa, please.
How do we do this? The dagger will go further into her back?
Just tip her forward over the arm. All right. No, now Mr. Boddy.
Mr. Boddy is now next to the cook on the sofa.
Now, who had access to the candlestick?
All of us.
You were given it.
Yes, but I dropped it when the lights went out. Anyone could have picked it up. You, him.
Look, there are still all of these weapons. The rope, the wrench, the lead pipe, the gun. Let's just put them all in this cupboard and lock it. There's a homicidal maniac about.
Yes.
All right.
Sure.
Yes,
That's good.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
Wadsworth, helped by the others, puts the weapons into the cupboard and locks the door. He puts the key into his pocket.
What are you doing with a key?
Putting it in my pocket.
Why?
Well, to keep it safe, obviously.
That means that you can open it whenever you want.
But it also means that you can't.
But what if you're the murderer?
I'm not!
Well, what if you are?
It has to be put somewhere, and if I've got it, I know I'm safe.
But we don't know we are.
So where do we leave it?
In the lock.
Oh, brilliant! Oh, I have an idea. We'll throw it away.
He rushes out of the study. The others follow. Interior.
Clown shoes.
Yeah, nice shoes. Interior, the hall.
Odd?
You're quite welcome. They rush to the front door. Wadsworth opens the door, swings his arm back to throw the key, but sees a motorist right in front of him. The man ducks, thinking he's about to be punched. Wadsworth's throwing arm freezes.
Oh, sorry, can we help?
The man sees 8 people staring at him with various expressions of fear, suspicion, and hysteria.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb the whole household, but my car broke down out here, and I was wondering if I could use your phone.
Just a moment, please.
The party huddles together and debates it. The motorist looks rather confused. After a time, the group turns back to the motorist.
Okay, fine. Very well, sir. Would you care to come in?
Yeah. Where is it?
What, the body?
The phone. What body?
Oh, well, there's no body. There's nobody. There's nobody in the study.
Well, yeah, that was my other role.
The motorist walks towards... Damn it.
You bastard.
The motorist walks towards the study. The party realizes that's where the bodies are.
Oh,
No.
That has been disconnected, but I think there's a phone in the lounge.
Thank you.
Walk this way.
Wadsworth does a dignified butler walk. The motorist follows him with an exact imitation of the dignified butler walk. Interior, the lounge.
When you've finished your call, perhaps you'll be good enough to wait here.
Yeah, certainly.
Okay.
Wadsworth closes the door, leaving the motorist alone in the lounge.
Bye.
The motorist is about to dial when he hears the door locked, so that he is locked in. He is very anxious.
I gotta go take the Xanax.
Interior, the hall. Wadsworth leaves the key to the lounge in the lock. Colonel Mustard comes up behind him and puts a hand on his shoulder.
Now, where's the key?
It's still in the lock.
Not that key, the key to the cupboard with the weapons.
You still wish me to throw it away?
Yes!
Very well.
He opens the front door and hurls the key into the distant shrubbery, never to be seen again. He shuts the front door.
Did you see how far that went? Oh my god.
No.
All right. What now? We've got, 25 minutes until the police get here.
I need a fucking drink.
Me too.
Fuck right. The colonel passes the study and sees Mr. Boddy and the cook still dead on the sofa.
Yep, all right, just checking.
Everything all right?
Yep, 2 corpses. Everything's fine.
Yes, 2 corpses. Everything's fine.
Interior, the library. Everyone stands nervously. Colonel Mustard pours himself a stiff drink and tries to take charge.
All right, does anybody else want a whiskey?
Miss Scarlet, Mr. Green, and Professor Plum all step forward to help themselves.
All right, pay attention, everyone. Wadsworth, am I right in thinking there's no one else in this house?
Man using the phone, but if we throw him out, he may get even more suspicious.
Well, if I were him, I'd be suspicious already.
Look, that guy doesn't matter. Let him stay locked up for another half an hour. Who cares? The police will be here by then. And then there are 2 dead bodies in the study.
Well, what do you suggest?
There seems to be confusion about whether or not we are the only people in this house.
I was going to tell you there isn't.
You mean there isn't any confusion, or isn't there anybody else?
Either. Or both.
Well, then just give me a clear answer.
Certainly. What was the question?
Is there anybody else in this house?
No!
What he says, but how does he know? I suggest we handle this in a proper military fashion. We split up and we search the house.
Split up?
Yes. We have very little time left, so we'll split up into pairs.
Pairs?
Yes.
Wait a minute. Suppose that one of us is the murderer. If we split up into pairs, whichever one is left the killer might be killed.
Well, then we would have discovered who the murderer is.
But the other half of the pair would be dead.
This is war, Peacock. Casualties are inevitable. You can't make an omelet without breaking any eggs. Every cook will tell you that.
Yes, but look what happened to the cook.
Are you willing to take that chance?
What choice have we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's fine.
No
Yeah.
other choice.
I was in
I
favor
guess
from the
so.
beginning. Yeah, that sounds great.
Really? Oh, that's weird.
Actually, yeah.
Wonderful. But it's dark upstairs and I'm afraid of the dark. Will anyone go with me?
Oh, I will.
I will.
Oh, well.
No, thank you.
Okay, I suggest we draw lots for partners.
Interior, kitchen. The group travels to the kitchen. Wadsworth is using a knife to cut long matchsticks into different lengths. He prepares them in his hand so the match's lengths can't be seen.
All right, ready? It's the two shortest together, the next two shortest together, etc. Agreed? And I suggest the two shortest search the cellar and so on up the house. Here we go.
They pick out matchsticks. Wadsworth is paired with Mrs. White.
Huh. Weird.
Yvette is paired with Mr. Green. Colonel Mustard is paired with Miss Scarlet. And Professor Plum is paired with Mrs. Peacock.
Just you and me, honey.
Yuck. Why don't we all search the house together?
We haven't got the time. Let's go.
The guests divide into pairs. Wadsworth, Mrs. White, Yvette, and Mr. Green all go up the main stairs. Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet remain in the hall.
Well, we know what's in the study, and we've just come from the library. The stranger's locked up in the lounge, so...
Let's look in the billiard room again.
All right.
They search the billiard room thoroughly, and no one is there. Interior, the second floor landing. Wadsworth and Mrs. White peer anxiously into a pair of dark bedrooms.
Are you going in there?
Yes. Are you?
Yes.
Neither moves, and they stare at each other suspiciously.
Right.
Right.
I can't see a light switch.
Well, neither can I, but there must be switches by the beds.
Oh, shall I come in with you?
No. I mean, no thank you.
He goes into the first bedroom. She goes into the second. Their heads peek out of the doorways, checking on each other. Interior, interior attic staircase. Rain and wind are outside. That wind. Whew. Mr. Green
So
and Yvette.
powerful.
So powerful. Mr. Green and Yvette pause at the foot of the staircase.
Do you want to go in front of me?
No.
I'm sure there's no one up there.
Then you go in front.
Okay.
But Mr. Green doesn't move. Interior, cellar stairs. Cold brick walls. Professor Plum and Mrs. Peacock stand on top of the steps.
Well, ladies first.
No, you can go first.
No, I insist.
No, I insist.
What are you frightened of? A fate worse than death?
No, just death. Isn't that enough?
Interior hall. Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet tentatively push open two double doors.
What?
At the far end of the hall to reveal a huge dark space.
What room is this?
Search me.
Okay.
I didn't mean it like that. Literally, get your mitts off of me.
Interior attic staircase.
Carajo.
Right.
Interior attic interior attic staircase. The wind howls. Yeah, there's the wind. Yvette and Mr. Green haven't moved.
Go on, I'll be right behind you.
That's why I'm nervous.
Then let's go together.
They walk side by side up the narrow staircase, squeezed together. Interior ballroom. Miss Scarlet switches on the light in the large dark room. It's a huge ballroom with a piano at the end.
Oh, nobody here.
Unless in those cupboards or behind the curtains.
Colonel Mustard's nerve fails him.
Cool. You look. I'll search the kitchen.
Miss Scarlet searches the ballroom. When she pulls the curtains, there is a broken pane of glass, making the curtain move. Interior police car outside. The police patrol the country lane and see the abandoned motorist's car. A police officer eyes it suspiciously and pulls way past the car. Interior, the hall. A gloved hand removes the key from the lock in the lounge door. We can't tell who it is. Interior, the study. On the desk is the envelope from which Wadsworth read the letter to all the guests. The gloved hand pulls out negatives and photographs. One of Mr. Boddy, one of the cook, another of Mr. Green. Then one of the motorist in army uniform at the wheel of a jeep. We see photographs of Colonel Mustard and Yvette that were left on the table. The gloved hand takes those photographs, some letters and some papers, and stuffs them into the envelope. The gloved hand throws the stuffed envelope into the blazing log fire. The gloved hand moves to the cupboard. The key is inserted into the lock, and the weapons are revealed. Interior, the lounge. The motorist is on the telephone. He's nervous and speaking into the phone for some time.
We're getting there. We're getting there. I'm juggling some stuff. My window closed. What is the line?
Scene 80.
There we go. I'm a little nervous in this big house, and I've been locked in the lounge. And the funny thing is, there's a whole group of people here having some sort of party, and one of them's my old boss from...
Then, suddenly, a gloved hand holding a wrench hits the motorist on the head. He falls, and the phone drops. The wrench is also dropped. Interior, the ballroom. Miss Scarlet leaves the ballroom, walking into the hall.
Colonel Mustard? Colonel Mustard?
Colonel Mustard comes out of the kitchen.
Oh, well, there's no one in the kitchen.
Shall we try the conservatory?
Interior, conservatory. It is an eerie room with trees and plants making weird shadows in the dark. Colonel Mustard finds a light switch.
Look!
There is a slightly open wall panel.
It looks like a secret passage. Shall we see where it leads?
Colonel Mustard grabs a nearby flashlight.
What the hell? I'll go first. I've had a good life.
In the passage, Colonel Mustard trips on something. He stumbles.
God damn it!
His voice is amplified by the echoing tunnel.
God damn it,
Interior, the lounge. The gloved hand switches off the light as Miss Scarlet and Colonel Mustard enter the room.
Why is it dark in here?
Because there's no light.
Miss Scarlet trips over something suddenly, or she is pushed. Colonel Mustard is pushed and drops the flashlight.
What's that? What happened?
Did you push me?
No, did you push me?
No, I fell over.
Did you hurt yourself?
No, I landed on something soft.
In the dark, Miss Scarlet gropes around to see what she landed on. It feels like a head.
It's a body. Somebody else is in here.
The flashlight is turned on. Colonel Mustard swings out his arm and hits the gloved hand holding the flashlight. The flashlight flies through the air and lands on the floor. A shoe kicks it. It slides across the floor and goes out.
The murderer's in here.
I'm in here with the murderer.
While in the attic, Yvette and Mr. Green can hear Miss Scarlet screams for help, and they run towards the stairs. Back in the dark lounge, Colonel Mustard reaches for Miss Scarlet to calm her down.
Help, leave me alone.
No,
leave me alone.
it's me, Colonel Mustard.
It is you.
Of course it's me.
Interior, second floor landing and hall. As Miss Scarlet is screaming, Yvette and Mr. Green run from the attic. Professor Wadsworth and Mrs. White run from their bedrooms, and Mrs. Peacock and Professor Plum run out of the cellar, and they all collide in the hall.
Who is it?
Where is it coming from?
Oh, the lounge!
The door's locked.
I know!
Well, unlock it.
The key's gone!
Never mind about the key. Unlock the door.
I can't unlock the door without the key!
Let us in!
Let us in!
Let us out! Let us out!
It's no good. Stand back. I'll have to break it down.
There's a murderer in here. Help us.
Will you shut up? We're doing our best.
Wadsworth tries to body slam the door open. Wadsworth falls to the ground. Yvette runs out of the study with a revolver. She trips over Wadsworth. The gun goes off, shooting the rope, holding the chandelier in the hall. The chandelier is hanging by a thread that is unraveling. Everyone else dives for cover while Yvette shoots the door's lock twice to open it.
Oh, you're shooting at us!
Come out, the door is open.
Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet open the door. They look shattered.
Why were you shooting that thing at us?
To get you out.
You might have killed us. I could have been killed. I cannot take any more scares.
The chandelier falls. He nearly has a heart attack, and everyone is in shock.
Mira.
She turns on the light in the lounge, and we see the dead motorist.
He needed that hole in the head. Like a hole in the head.
Which of you did it?
We found him together.
There's a secret passage from the conservatory, see?
Interior of the lounge. The crowd gapes at the secret passage.
It comes from the conservatory.
Thank God you were able to get us out, Yvette.
They all stare at the gun she is holding in her hand.
Is that the same gun?
From the cupboard?
But it was locked.
Wasn't it?
It's locked.
Yes. See for yourself.
Wait, it was unlocked?
Unlocked?
Yes.
Interior, the study. The cupboard is open, and the key is in the lock.
Well, how did you know it was unlocked? How did you know you could get at the gun?
I didn't. At the time, I think I break it open, but it was open already.
A likely story.
Maybe they'll go away?
I'm going to open it.
Why?
I've nothing to hide. I didn't do it.
Interior, front door. Mr. Green opens the front door, and the cop is standing there. The others crowd behind Mr. Green.
Good evening, sir.
Mr. Green slams the door in front of his face. Dunk. A moment passes. Then he reopens it again.
Yes.
I found an abandoned car near the gates of this house. Did the driver come here for help by any chance?
No.
Remember that? No.
Well, actually, yes.
No.
There seems to be a disagreement.
No.
Yes.
No.
Can I come in and use the phone?
Of course you may, sir. You may use the one in the No, you can use the one in the Nope. Would you be kind enough to wait in the library?
Sure.
The cop comes in and notices Yvette.
Don't I know you from somewhere? You all seem very anxious about something.
Oh, wait. It's because the chandelier fell down. It could have killed us.
Miss Scarlet hurries to the lounge. Professor Plum rushes to the study. They slam those doors. Wadsworth shows the cop into the library.
Here we are. Please help yourself to a drink if you'd like. Oh, not the cognac. Just in case.
Just in case of what?
Bye.
Wadsworth slams the door and locks the cop in the room with a key. The key is left in the lock. The guests are panicking.
What now?
We should have told him.
It's all very well to say that now.
I said it then.
Oh, shut up.
Quite la boca, por favor.
Interior. Yeah, the library. The cop is trying to open the locked door, but can't. He heads to the telephone, and just before he is about to call, the phone rings.
Hello? Yes? Okay. And who shall I say is calling? Oh, yeah. And I'm Harry Truman. Okay, sir. I'll try, sir. I apologize, but I'm locked in a room here.
The cop jiggles the door again.
Jiggle.
Let me out of here. You've got no right to shut me in. I'll book you for false arrest, wrongful imprisonment, obstructing an officer in course of his duty, and murder.
The door unlocks. The group tries to look innocent.
What do you mean, murder?
I just said that to make you open the door.
Oh, no.
What's going on here? Why did you lock me in, and why are you receiving phone calls from J. Edgar Hoover?
What?
J. Edgar Hoover's on the line.
J. Edgar Hoover?
That's right, the head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
The Federal Bureau of Investigation?
Yeah, very good. That's an acronym. FBI, you've heard of it before?
Why is J. Edgar Hoover on your phone?
I don't know, but he's on everybody else's. Why shouldn't he be on mine?
He goes into the library. He removes the key from the lock and shuts the door. Interior, the hall.
What's going on here?
We're having a party.
Mind if I look around?
Sure, you show him around, Mr. Green.
Me?
See, why don't you show him the dining room or the kitchen or the ballroom?
Fine. Fine. Come with me, officer. I'll show you the dining room or the kitchen or the ballroom.
As the cop and Mr. Green go to the dining room, Miss Scarlet turns to the others.
Okay, listen, I got an idea.
Interior, dining room.
And this is the dining room.
No kidding. What's going on in those two rooms?
What 2 rooms?
Interior, the study. Miss Scarlet is talking to Mrs. White and Colonel Mustard in front of the bodies of the cook and Mr. Boddy on the sofa. She grabs a bottle of brandy.
Make it look convincing.
Interior, the hall. Miss Scarlet and Professor Plum run across the hall and into the lounge as the cop and Mr. Green come out of the dining room. The cop points at the study and lounge doors.
Those 2 rooms.
Oh, those 2 rooms. Well, officer, I don't think you should go in there.
And why not?
Well, because oh, it's all too shocking.
A cop brushes Mr. Green aside and opens the door. Interior, the study. The cop switches on the light. Mrs. White is on Mr. Boddy's knee. Mrs. White is on Mr. Boddy's knee, kissing him. The cook is in the corner with her arms around Colonel Mustard, and with Mrs. Peacock puppeteering the cook's arms. The cop turns to Mr. Green, whose mouth is agape.
It's not all that shocking. Folks are having a good time. She's kissing a very
after the cop and Mr. Green leave, Mrs. Peacock comes out.
Oh my God, how could you kiss that thing?
It's like kissing my first husband.
Before or after you cut his head off?
Interior, the lounge. The cop and Mr. Green open the lounge door. Miss Scarlet and Professor Plum are in an embrace. The motorist is lying back in a chair with half a bottle of brandy in his hands. The cop sees the bottle, crosses over to him, and sniffs the motorist's breath.
He's drunk. Dead drunk.
Dead right?
The cop shakes the motorist. The bottle slips to the floor. The cop bends to his ear.
I hope you're not going to drive home.
Oh, he won't be driving home, officer. I promise you that.
Someone's going to give him a lift?
Yes, I will get him a car for him. A long black car.
a limousine.
Interior, the hall. Wadsworth hurries out of the library, finishing his call.
Officer?
You're too late. I've seen everything.
You have? Fuck. I can explain everything.
You don't need to.
I don't?
Don't worry, there's nothing illegal about any of this.
Are you sure?
No. This is America.
I see.
America. It's a free country, didn't you know?
I didn't know it was that free. That's awesome.
May I use the phone now?
Certainly.
The cop goes into the library. Wadsworth locks the door with the key in the lock.
Why did you lock him in there again?
We didn't
You
finish
dumbass.
searching the house.
We're running out of time. Only 15 minutes till the police come.
The police came already.
Shut up.
Yvette grabs Mr. Green by the hand.
Come on.
The group returns to their original search spots. Wadsworth and Mrs. White to the bedrooms, Mrs. Peacock and Professor Plum to the cellar, and Yvette and Mr. Green to the attic. Interior, the kitchen. Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet enter the kitchen, search the front cupboards, and approach the cupboard where the cook's body fell out. And they discover another secret passage through the mountain.
Look!
I don't believe it. Where does this one go?
Let's find out.
They take a secret passage from the kitchen and end up in the study.
Ugh. All right, well, let's try the ballroom again.
Interior, the hall. Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet cross the hall, and they hear hissing. Yep, that's hissing.
What was that?
Yo no sé. It's nothing, I suppose.
Interior, somewhere in the house. A gloved hand pulls a lever labeled power as the power goes out in the house. In the cellar, Professor Plum and Mrs. Peacock hear a hissing sound, but it comes from the central heating boiler. In the bedroom, Mrs. White sees one of the windows left open. It rattles from the outside rain. In another bedroom, Wadsworth sees another figure, but doesn't realize it's a full-length mirror and scares himself. He stumbles and falls, causing a crash. Mrs. White screams. Screams. Interior attic. Mr. Green and Yvette collide in the dark.
Leave me alone!
Get away from me!
They tumble down the attic staircase. Yvette runs to the hall and heads to the billiards room. Interior billiard room.
Hello? Hello, are you here?
We hear a whispered voice off screen.
What is going on?
Come in. Shut the door. Did the cop recognize your face?
He must have, and not just my face. He knows every inch of my body, like you, and like...
Suddenly, a rope is thrown around her neck.
It's you!
And the rope closes around her windpipe. Interior, the library. The cop is on the phone.
Hello? There's something funny going on here. I don't know what it is. No, I'm not on duty, but I have a feeling I'm in danger. You know that big, ugly house on top of a...
Then a gloved hand hits the cop with a lead pipe, and he falls to the floor. Interior, front door. The front door opens. A young woman from Western Union appears.
I am your singing telegram.
Whoa. The young woman falls dead. The front door slams shut. Everyone in the dark house hears the gunshot. Mr. Green is in the attic. Colonel Mustard is in the dining room. Miss Scarlet is in the ballroom. Mrs. White tries to find the door out of the second bedroom and opens a huge jack-in-a-box instead.
Help! Help! Oh, help! Oh,
Wadsworth is in the first bedroom.
Coming! I'm just trying to find the door. No, I found it! I'm coming! Ha!
Wadsworth opens the door and finds another handle.
Another door? Fascinating.
He goes through the door and finds...
another handle.
He turns it. Water splashes on him.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I'm in the shower!
Wadsworth steps out of the bathroom and goes downstairs into the kitchen. He finds the main power switch inside the door and turns it back on. All the lights return. All the guests return to the hall and glance into the adjoining rooms. Interior, billiard room. Yvette is lying on the billiard table with the noose around her neck. They turn around and see the corpse of the cop.
2 murders.
Neither of them shot. I thought I heard a gun.
So did I.
The front door slammed.
Oh, God, the murderer must have run out.
Let's see.
Exterior, front door. Wadsworth opens the front door. At his feet is the body of the young woman.
3 murders.
6 altogether.
Oh, this is getting serious.
Interior, hall. Wadsworth shuts the front door and looks at the floor.
No gun. Yvette dropped it here, remember? And now it's gone.
Everyone looks at each other with suspicion.
Ah, very well. I know who did it.
You
do? Mm-hmm. And furthermore, I'm going to tell you all how it was done. Follow me.
Interior, the library. The guests follow Wadsworth as he explains what happened.
In order to help you understand what happened, I shall need to take you through the events of the evening step by step. At the start of the evening, Yvette was here by herself waiting to offer you all a glass of champagne. I was in the hall, I know because I was there. Then I hurried across to the kitchen.
Interior, kitchen.
And the cook was here alive, sharpening the knives, preparing dinner. Then...
Interior, front door.
The doorbell rang. Ding-a-ling! It was you, Colonel Mustard.
Yes.
I asked for your coat. I recognized you as Colonel Mustard and prevented you from telling me your real name, as I didn't want any of you to be addressed by any name other than your pseudonym, and I introduced myself to you as the butler and led you across the hall to the library.
Interior, the library.
And Yvette met you and smiled, and poured you a drink, and...
Interior, the hall.
The doorbell rang, ding! Again, and it was Mrs. White looking pale and tragic. And I told her she was expected and took her coat and hung it up, and...
Interior, the library.
I introduced Mrs. White to Colonel Mustard and noticed that Mrs. White and Yvette flinched.
Then what?
Then we heard a rumble of thunder and a crash of lightning. Pew! And, to cut a long story short, one by one you all arrived. Mrs. Peacock shook hands with Yvette, and Colonel Mustard and Mr. Green were offered champagne by Yvette, and Professor Plum and Miss Scarlet arrived together, and were all introduced, and then...
Interior, the hall.
The gong was struck, gong, by the cook, and we went into the dining room.
Interior, the dining room.
And Mrs. Peacock sat here, Colonel Mustard sat here, and Mr. Green, Professor Plum, Miss Scarlet, Mrs. White, and this chair is vacant, and over
Get
here...
on
we
with
the monkey.
it!
Yes, get on with it.
I'm telling it as fast as I can! Anyway, we all revealed that we received letters. You had a letter, and you had a letter, and you had a letter.
Get
on with it!
Point is, blackmail.
But this all came out in the study after dinner.
You're right.
Interior, study. The corpses of Mr. Boddy and the cook are where they left them after the cops saw them.
Mr. Green sat here, Mrs. Peacock was here, Mrs. Scarlet here, Professor Plum here, Colonel Mustard, Mrs. White, and
Get on with it!
Getting there, I'm getting there. Mr. Boddy came to get his surprise packages from the hall, and you opened your presents. Mrs. Scarlet got a candlestick, Mrs. White got a rope, Colonel Mustard got a wrench, Mr. Green got a lead pipe, and Mrs. Peacock got a dagger, and Professor Plum got a gun, and Mr. Boddy switched out the lights.
Wadsworth turns off the lights. They turn back on, and Wadsworth is prone on the floor.
Oh, good God!
Wadsworth gets up.
That's right, Mr. Boddy lay here, apparently dead.
He was dead. I examined him.
Then why was Mr. Boddy bashed on the head with a candlestick a few minutes later if he was dead already, bitch?
How should I know?
So you made a mistake.
I did not.
Why not admit it?
Doctors like the Pope never admit a professional mistake or a sexual indiscretion.
If you didn't make a mistake, you were lying, which looks very bad for you.
Okay, I made a mistake.
Oh, great. If so, why was Mr. Boddy pretending to be dead? It could only be because he realized his scheme had misfired and that the gunshot was intended to kill him, not me. Look!
Wadsworth shows Mr. Boddy's head, and there's a slight graze on it.
The bullet grazed his ear. Clearly, his best hope of escaping death was to pretend to be dead already.
So whoever grabbed the gun from me in the dark was trying to kill him.
But remember what happened next. Mrs. Peacock took a drink. You said maybe it's poisoned. She screams, ah, and drops the glass. We took her to the sofa. She's still screaming, ah. Mrs. Green slaps her face, ah. Then we heard more screaming from the library. Yvette and Mr. Green screamed, ah, and Colonel Mustard slapped him. Ah, ah.
Ah.
And we rushed out, and she screamed, and we tried to the handle, and it was locked. And we knocked, and she screamed, ah! And we rattled and pounded, and then they won't open the door. Hola, yoo-hoo! And Yvette opened the door, and we rushed in.
Interior billiard room.
But one of us wasn't here.
No.
No. Maybe one of us was murdering the cook. Who wasn't here with us?
Do you know?
I sure as hell do. While we stood here trying to stop Yvette from panicking, one of us could have stayed in the study, picked up the knife, shink, ran down the hall, and stabbed the cook.
Interior, the kitchen.
How could he risk it? We might have seen him coming back.
Not if they used this secret passage.
All but Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet gasp in amazement.
And the murderer ran back down the secret passage to the study.
They all take the secret passage from the kitchen to the study. Interior, the study.
How did you know?
Ah, this house belongs to a friend of mine. I've known all along.
So you could be the murderer.
Don't be ridiculous. If I was the murderer, why would I reveal to you all how I did it?
Well, who else knew about this secret passage?
We found it, Miss Scarlet and I.
You found it. You could have known all along.
But I didn't.
Well, why should we believe you?
Because he was definitely with us all in the billiard room doorway while Yvette was screaming, don't you remember?
Oh, that's true. He was next to me.
But what I don't understand is, why was the cook murdered? She had nothing to do with Mr. Boddy.
Of course she did. I gathered you all here together because you were all implicated in Mr. Boddy's dastardly blackmail. Did none of you deduce that the others were involved too?
What others?
The cook and Yvette?
No.
That's how he got all his information. Before he could blackmail anyone, Mr. Boddy had to find out their guilty secret. The cook and Yvette were his accomplices.
Okay, I see. So whoever knew the cook was involved killed her?
Yes. And I know, because I was Mr. Boddy's butler, that the cook had worked for one of you.
Who?
Who?
You recognized Yvette, didn't you, Mrs. White? Don't deny it.
What do you mean, don't deny it? I'm not denying anything.
That's another denial.
All right, it's true. I knew Yvette. My husband had an affair with her, but I didn't care. I wasn't jealous. All right. I admit it. I hated her so much. The flames on the sides of my face, breathing breath.
And you knew Yvette too, didn't you, Miss Scarlet?
Yes, she worked for me.
And you also knew her, Colonel Mustard.
What are you suggesting?
Oh, is this funny to you, sir? 6 people have died so far. And we have already established that you were one of Miss Scarlet's clients, you pervert. That was why you were so desperate to get those negatives. Photographs of you and Yvette in flagrante delicto. Remember?
Well, Mr. Boddy threatened to send those pictures to my dear old mother, and the shock would have killed her.
That would have been quite an achievement. She's dead already. So he had a motive.
You all had a motive. So, the cook was dead. We lugged her back to the study, and Mrs. Peacock was screaming.
Wadsworth runs to the toilet and throws open the door.
Mr. Boddy, dead, toilet, candlestick, you get it.
But when and where was Mr. Boddy killed?
Don't you see? Look, we came back to the study with Yvette and Mr. Boddy on the floor. Ugh. Playing dead, but one of us knows he's still alive. Ugh. I explained that I was Mr. Boddy's butler, and I'd invited you all here, and we realized there was only one other person in the house.
The
cook!
Interior, the kitchen.
By now, she was dead. We laid her down with our backs to the cupboard. One of us slipped through the same secret passage.
Again?
Of course! Back to the study!
Interior, the study. Wadsworth opens the secret panel.
The murderer is in the secret passage. Meanwhile, Mr. Boddy had been on the floor. Thank you, Mr. Green. He jumped up. The murderer came out of the secret panel, picked up the candlestick.
Interior, hall.
Mr. Boddy followed us out of the study into the hall, looking for an escape, and the murderer crept up and killed him. Come here, Green.
You!
Then the murderer dragged him into the toilet and then nonchalantly rejoined us beside the cook's body in the kitchen. It all took less than half a minute.
So who wasn't with us the whole time in the kitchen?
Whoever it was is the murderer.
Interior, front door.
And we put the weapons in the cupboard, locked it, ran to the front door to throw away the key, and then the motorist. I didn't throw the key away. I put it in my pocket. And somebody must have taken the key out of my pocket and substituted another.
We were all in a huddle. Any of us could have done it.
Precisely.
Wait a minute. Colonel Mustard has a top secret Pentagon job. Mrs. White's husband was a nuclear physicist, and Yvette is a link between them.
What is your top secret job, Colonel?
I can tell you. He is working on the secret of the next fusion bomb.
How did you know that?
Can you keep a secret?
Yeah.
So can I.
I begin to see how it was done.
Was it a plot between them, Wadsworth, or did Colonel Mustard do it alone?
We shall see. Let's look at the other murders.
Yes. It was bad luck for the motorist that he arrived at that moment.
Oh, it wasn't luck. I invited him.
You did?
Of course. It's obvious. Everyone here tonight was either Mr. Boddy's victim or accomplice. Everyone who has died gave him vital information about one of you. I got them here so that they'd give evidence against him and force him to confess.
So who knew the guy who came in to make the telephone call?
He was my driver during the war.
And what was he holding over you? Or do I have to tell them?
He knew I was a war profiteer. I stole essential Air Force radio spare parts and I sold them on the black market. That is how I made all my money. But it doesn't make me a murderer.
A lot of our airmen died because their radios didn't work. Was the policeman working for Mr. Boddy too?
The cop was from Washington. He was on my payroll. I bribed him once a week so that I could carry on business with Mr. Boddy. Found out somehow.
My God.
And the singing telegram girl?
She was my patient once. I had an affair with her. That's why I lost my license. Mr. Boddy found that out too.
Right, yes. Let's put her in the study with the others.
Interior, study. The men pick up the singing telegram girl and throw her body through the doorway.
Good.
The telegram flies through the air and lands on the sofa.
So, now you all know why they died. Whoever killed Mr. Boddy also wanted his accomplices dead.
But how did the murderer know about all this? I mean, I admit, I guess that this young singer had informed on me to Mr. Boddy, but I didn't know about any of you till this evening. I mean, I never even met Mr. Boddy.
Me neither.
Right, I.
Yeah,
How did he know?
that's true. Yeah.
Yes, I will get to that. First, the murderer had to get his hands on the weapons. Easy. He stolen the key from my pocket. And we all followed Colonel Mustard's suggestion that we split up and search the house.
That's right. It was Colonel Mustard's suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
And after we split up, there were 4 more murders.
Colonel Mustard does not reply.
And just remind me, because, this whole thing, whose suggestion was it to lock the motorist in the lounge?
Colonel Mustard, wasn't it?
Oh, indeed. So then we drew lots. We split up, and one of us got away from their partner and hurried to the study.
Interior, the study.
Here on the desk was the envelope from Mr. Boddy. It contained photographs and letters, the evidence of Mr. Boddy's network of informants.
Where's the envelope now?
Gone. Destroyed. Perhaps in the fire. It's the only possible place.
He picks up a burnt-up envelope. The photographs crumble into ash.
Then, having found out the whole story, the murderer opened the cupboard with the key, took out the wrench.
Then Colonel Mustard found the secret passage from the conservatory to the lounge where we found the motorist dead.
Ah, yes.
Interior hall.
But we couldn't get in, so Yvette got the gun from the open cupboard and shot the door open. Pew, pew, pew! And then the front door bell rang again. What the fuck?
They all look at each other aghast.
How the fuck did you do that?
I didn't fucking do that!
I don't believe this. I just don't believe this is happening.
Whoever it is at the door, they've got to go away or they'll be fucking killed.
Interior/exterior front door. Mrs. Peacock runs to the front door and opens it. An elderly man stands there with pamphlets in his hand.
Good evening. Have you ever given any thought to the kingdom of heaven?
What?
Repent! The kingdom of heaven is at hand!
You ain't just whistling Dixie?
Armageddon is almost upon us!
I've got news for you. It's here already.
Go away!
But your souls are in danger!
Our lives are in danger!
Get lost. Mrs. Peacock slams the door in the man's face.
Well, the cop arrived next. We locked him in the library. We forgot the cupboard with the weapons was now unlocked in the study. We all split up again.
Interior hall.
And the murderer switched off the electricity. Like this.
Lights switch off.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
He switches the electricity back on again.
In the dark, the murderer runs from here across the hall to the study, gets the rope and the lead pipe. He ran to the billiard room, strangled Yvette and Ledai, ran across to the library, and hit the cop with the lead pipe. Then, coming out of the library, he saw automobile lights coming up the drive. It was the singing telegram. The murderer picked up the gun where Yvette left it here beside the lounge door, opened the front door, recognized the singing girl from a photograph, and shot her. A lot of times, actually. And then ran back to the cellar.
The cellar?
Yeah.
But Colonel Mustard wasn't in the cellar.
No. But you were.
Me? Well, what's it got to do with me?
You did it, plot twist. You and Professor Plum together. You were in league with each other. Think back. Mrs. Peacock was missing when the cook and Mr. Boddy were murdered, and the cook used to be your cook. Don't you remember your fatal mistake?
He runs to the dining room, and they follow. Interior, dining room. Wadsworth sits in Mrs. Peacock's chair.
Sitting here, you told us all at dinner that we were eating one of your favorite recipes. But monkey's brains, though popular in Cantonese cuisine, are not often to be found in Washington, D.C.
Is that what we ate?
Are there any brains found in Washington, D.C.?
Hey.
She was my cook. I don't deny it, but that doesn't prove I murdered anyone.
And what's it got to do with me?
You knew that Mr. Boddy was still alive. Even psychiatrists can tell the difference between patients who are alive and dead. You fired the gun at him in the dark, but missed. Then you dropped the gun and pretended he was dead so you could kill him later unobserved. You were missing in the kitchen when we found the cook dead, and that's when you did it. The other 4 murders were easy. Luck was on your side. You drew lots to search the house together. So while we were all occupied searching the rest of the house, you burned the evidence, killed the motorists, then switched off the electricity and killed the others.
So it was all nothing to do with the disappearing nuclear physicist and Colonel Mustard's work with the new fusion bomb?
No. Just like reality, communism was just a red herring.
But why did they kill all those people?
We
didn't.
There's no other possible explanation.
I think there is.
Thinking, Professor Plum walks slowly out of the dining room into interior, the kitchen. As he walks into the kitchen, the others follow him, listening intently.
I think there is. Wadsworth, you knew about the secret passages, and then when we drew lots, you held the matchsticks in your hands. You could have made sure we went to the cellar together.
It's a frame-up.
Oh, no, it isn't.
Oh, I'll tell you how we found out. The gun's missing, right? Everybody, turn out your pockets and purses. Whoever's got the gun, shot the singing telegram.
Wadsworth produces the gun from his pocket.
Very clever, you saucy little weirdo.
Espérate. You killed that girl?
He killed all of them.
He did?
Of course. Who knew every detail about us all? Who brought us all here and Mr. Boddy and all the victims? Who had the key to the cupboard with the weapons?
But no, wait, no. He said the cook was murdered when we were all standing in the library doorway with Yvette, so it couldn't have been Wadsworth. He was standing there right beside me.
But I was lying. Come on, dude. That's not when she was murdered. I killed the cook earlier on when Mr. Boddy was on the floor in the study and you were all clustered around him. It took no time at all. You see, as Professor Plum here realized, I knew about the secret passage from the study to the kitchen.
Well, the police will be here any minute. You'll never get away with this.
And why should the police come? Nobody's called them.
Oh my god, of course not.
Why did you do it?
Would you believe me if I said it was to rid the world of an appalling blackmailer and his disgusting informers?
No.
And you'd be quite right. No, all my life has been spent in a struggle for perfection. I tried to be the perfect husband, but my wife killed herself. I strove to be the perfect butler, but I was driven to killing my employer. So I resolved that in doing so, I would commit the perfect murder. But there is no pleasure in my triumph without an audience to admire it. And as none of you had the brains to expose me, and none of Twitch chat can turn me in, I decided I must expose myself.
Good God, man. There are ladies present here and in Twitch chat.
All 1 million of them.
But you didn't commit the perfect murder. There are 6 witnesses to your confession and all million in Twitch chat.
Not for long, Professor. When the police eventually get here, they'll find 12 bodies and 1 million dead chat and no explanation.
12? There's only 6 and 66 Twitch chat, let's be honest.
The champagne was poisoned, and so are the bits. If you don't get an antidote in 3 hours, you'll die. All of you. And I'm leaving now and locking all you fuckers in.
He laughs maniacally and runs out of the kitchen. Interior, the lounge.
There's no escape.
He runs in and rips the telephone cord off the wall. The others follow him into the hall and watch him in horror. Wadsworth suddenly flashes by on roller skates. Wadsworth rolls in and rips the phone out of the floor of the library and study. He turns in triumph to the others. Then the doorbell rings.
Don't move. Any of you.
The group blocks his way to the front door.
Oh, get out of my way.
You said
don't
move.
Oh.
Interior, hall. After a struggle, Wadsworth gets to the front door with gun in hand. He opens the door, and the elderly evangelist is there.
I thought we told you to get lost.
Yes, but...
Wadsworth reveals the gun.
Scram, you stupid old sideways
The elderly
mustache.
man... The elderly man lunges towards Wadsworth and grabs his wrist. The gun goes off.
Oh, Jesus.
Several cops rush... Okay, it keeps going off, apparently. Several cops rush in, guns ready, aimed at Wadsworth. The 6 guests rush through the hall, screaming.
You've got to help us!
The cops hold the 6 guests at gunpoint, backing them against the wall and frisking them. The other cops search the other rooms. One cop runs to the lounge's door.
There's a body in here.
He runs to the billiard room.
There's another body in here.
He runs even faster to the library.
And another in here.
He finally makes it to the study where he staggers back from the door.
And there are somehow 3 more in here. You need the killing spree. This isn't a video game.
The elderly evangelist is holding Wadsworth in a vice-like grip.
Who are you?
The old man flashes a badge.
FBI, bitch. Sent me to clean up these murders.
Is that why it's run by a man called Hoover?
Who's responsible for these deaths?
He is.
All of them?
It's true, it's true. It was the perfect murder. Let me show you how I did it.
He pushes them all back and clears a big space. The 6 guests and the cops, all with guns trained on him, surround him.
At the start of the evening, Yvette was here by herself waiting to offer you all a glass of champagne. I was in the hall, the cook was in the kitchen, the doorbell rang, ding-a-ling-ding.
Wadsworth throws open the front door. As the guests and cops watch him, mesmerized by his performance, Wadsworth steps out onto the porch and slams the front door. He locks the front door from the outside with his key. The guests and cops rush the front door and beat it furiously, screaming to be let out. Wadsworth races down the front steps. The rain has stopped. It is a clear, moonlit night. He jumps into a police car, starts the engine, and pulls away. As he disappears, the guests and cops burst through the conservatory glass and into the garden. While Wadsworth is driving along in the police car, his nose twitches as he smells a familiar and unpleasant smell. Then he hears a sound.
The Chihuahuas!
Wadsworth looks in the rearview mirror, teeth snapping. He turns, and there are the 3 dogs waiting to pounce. As they leap towards him, blackout. The end.
Oh.
Amazing
I'm glad we finally
job.
got that. I'm glad we finally got that shirt off you a little bit, Vince.
It's been
That's all I
choking me
wanted.
all night.
Wow. Thank you all for witnessing what is probably one of my favorite first drafts to date. Let's go around.
It's true. All of that, everything we said was in draft.
Yeah.
That was all part of the draft.
It was all.
Every single
every single
everyone.
one, including the million dead chat. Let's.
Really prescient of the scriptwriters to know that this was going to be streamed.
I
On
know, way back in
Incredible
1984.
foresight.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So let's go around and let's let's have everyone introduce themselves. Where can they find you on the internet? Maybe your favorite scene, and what are you up to next? I'm going to start off with Open Shirt Boy Vince.
Hi, I am Vince Caso. I was playing Wadsworth the Butler. Now I look like a 1980s gigolo. You can find me all over the internet at Vince Caso. You can find me on twitch.tv/Pixel Circus on Friday nights for my D&D show Failed Save that I DM with Sage Ryan, Abria Iyengar, and a whole bunch of other amazing friends. And beyond that, I have various projects that come out from time to time, which you can tune in on and learn all about if you follow me on socials.
All right, next, let's go over to our narrator, Chris. Great job keeping the pace of everything.
We're not
Thank
worthy.
you. I am Chris Montgomery, as has been established. I was playing the narrator, and I am not much on the internet. I hide away. I'm a freelance editor, and if I work on novels and nonfiction and games actually also. If you're looking for I'll say it, world-class editor. You can contact Ryan to reach. I'm going to declare Ryan.
And also an interesting conversation about kerning.
Listen, I can tell you things about kerning that will curl your toes. Yes.
Online and not for free.
Listen, you got to give the people a taste of the kerning talk.
Dip the toe in the grammar.
That's probably enough for me at this point. You've heard my voice quite a bit.
All right. Next, let's go over to Trevor.
Oh, shit. Hi. I'm Trevor Valle. I was playing Colonel Mustard. Let's see. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Tattoos and Bones, because I'm not just a professional dungeon master. I'm also a paleontologist. Normally on Mondays, you can find me on -2 Charisma for A Sinner's Dream. Tuesday is the Free Forge on Become Legend. Wednesday is Open Circuit Studios with Finn for Leverage Los Angeles. Thursday, back on -2 for Plastic Cougar. I do a lot.
All right. Next, we go to KP.
Oh man! Hello everybody. My name is KP. I go by KP11 Studios and all your social medias. I had the privilege of playing Professor Plum tonight with these fantastic folks. Just like this, I have the privilege of also playing on various TTRPG streams. The big one that I'm a part of is a Cobalt Press sponsored stream that's happening on Wednesdays. Every Wednesday, we're on our 3rd episode this week. It's called A Tales from the Wasted West. If you like wasteland themed or Western themed stuff, your cowboys and your pew pews, you will find us all over there. It's absolutely fantastic. We are also about to start on a couple of other channels, some brand new shows, so watch out for some of that. Just follow or check me out on Twitter. That's where I practically live. It's absolutely unhealthy, but it is what we do and we have to do. So there you go. And on top of that, I'm also a cultural consultant, a writer, a voice actor, and all sorts of other things in between. And I'm very eclectic. It's pretty wild, but come check me out there. There you go.
And if you want to know who did the clue cards to make them look really authentically like the clue cards, that would be KP's work.
Oh yeah, I'm a photographer. I do photography.
Yeah,
that's my main
too.
thing that I do.
I think there are inconsistencies here. He said at the top of the show he's not an actor, and yet you listed voice actor. Turn out your pockets.
Get him
You have
out
the
of
gun.
I'm sorry, I have few under my belt.
When you're
Okay,
right,
I'll
you're
take
right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
We got him. Get it outsmarted.
You, if it weren't for you meddling little kids.
All right, next let's go over to our Foley artist, Finn.
Hi. I'm Finn. I was the sounds. Hi, I am Finn Pierson. You can find me on all social medias at FinnRP Pierson. I am going to make it real quick. So, Wednesdays, you can find me with wonderful Trevor here. We are doing a Leverage Los Angeles show with Open Circuit Studios at 5 p.m. on their Twitch channel. Then I will be checking my calendar real fast. On Edge of Legend on October 12th, I'm doing a Halloween one-shot. And then my show, Gravehaven, a Southern Gothic D&D show, will come out October 28th on Q Times. So follow all my social media for more information on that. I'm also an illustrator. I mostly do fantasy cartography. And I'm also a LARPer. So, hi.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having. This was so much fun. Thank you, Ryan. It was so good.
A grade LARPer, I can attest. Absolutely fantastic.
I will not disagree.
Malachi for governor.
Malachi Karak for governor.
Stop.
Wow. Oh,
Nerd. No, I'm kidding.
All right, next we'll go to Harli.
Hi, my name is Harli Kane, and you can find me everywhere on the internet at Harli Hero. I pretend to be a hot girl on the internet, so you should follow my socials because
How do
it's
you
a good
pretend
time.
to be something you actually are?
That's the illusion. That's the magic. Yeah, and I do all sorts of D&D, TTRPG stuff. So yeah, just check out my socials.
All right, next, Aki.
Hi everybody, I'm Aki. I was your Mr. Green. It was a lot of fun. What am I up to? Honestly, not much. I have a few things that are on the horizon that I can't talk about yet. But soon, lots of very cool projects. I also LARP with some of these lovely people, and it's a lot of fun. And yeah, you can catch me here and there on the internet playing October 5th, I believe I will be doing some work with Nat 20 Productions for their month of spookiness. So look forward to that. That'll be a lot of fun.
All right, next we have Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine Hassay. You can find me on social media at Christine Hassay. And you can also watch some of the stuff that I've made. I'm a actor, writer, producer, so I've made a feature film, June Adrift, that's available for streaming online. A few shorts. Wedlocked is a big one that did a lot of the festival circuit if you want to watch some wholesome LGBT content. Yeah, otherwise that's it, at Christine Hassay.
All right, next we go to Joey.
Hey everybody, I am Joey, and this is my hair. It's not a wig, except it totally is. Hi, you can find me on all the socials at Feywild85, FEYWILDE85. I stream on every Wednesday. Actually, this Wednesday will be the last Wednesday because it's the season finale for Hexbreakers, our Kids on Bikes actual play at Happy Jacks RPG. That's www.happyjacks.org. And you can also find me on Spotify with my band, the Poxy Boggards. Our newest album, A Song of Vice and Ire, came out during the pandemic, so give it a listen. I have a song on there.
Boggard?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love you, bastard.
Oh, thank you.
I thought you had different hair.
Oh,
I never recognized.
That's the wig. This is the real hair. That's the wig. But yeah, so check us out on Spotify. Not really doing any streaming after Hexbreakers at the moment because I'm getting married on Sunday.
Woo, congrats!
Congrats!
Thank you. And thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. It was so much fun and a lifelong dream.
Fantastic.
Clutch.
Oh, thank you. Flames! Flames at the side of my face. Oh, I saw the chat just light up when you did that. Tobias, your turn.
Hello! I'm Tobias McCurry, he, him, his. I'm primarily a prop maker at my own company, Spring Hill Studios. If you want to find me on the social medias, you can go to beacons.ai/Tobias. I just dropped it in the chat, which has all my social medias. I do anything from guesting at conventions as a maker, or a personality, or someone who likes margaritas, to live action role-playing events, to prop creation and costuming. That's my shtick. I generally do... actually, I can plug that. On the 21st, because normally I do it on my birthday on the 4th of October, on the 21st, I will be doing a charity stream very inebriatedly with my brother for Seattle Children's Hospital. And if y'all could make that, that would be rad as hell, because it's a very good time, and we often do very regrettable things in the name of donations to this hospital. I don't think I have ever lived it down any year we've done it. So I think this year we'll be able to break our entire 10K. Like over the years, we've gotten a few grand. We're gonna hit 10K overall this year. It's gonna be dope. But yeah, beacons.ai/Tobias is where you can find me. And once more, thank you all so much for having me.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
All right, next, Cynthia Marie.
Hey y'all, I'm Cynthia Marie. You guys can find me on Twitter at Syndancer or Instagram Cynthia__Marie. I am actually a systems engineer, so that's why you don't see me on a whole lot of shows, but I am on a couple of different things that I'm coming up in. A little vampire show that's coming out called New York by Night. Woohoo! Is on the official World of Darkness channel that is debuting this Friday on the 30th at 8 p.m. Pacific time. So just check out the socials, see kind of the content that we're coming up with. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot more stuff than just what we did in LA by Night. So stay tuned for all of that. I am, oh man, y'all, I am DMing or STing my very first show, and this one's an interesting one because you two are cheering for something, but it's a charity event for Latin Heritage Month. If you guys didn't know, we're in Latin Heritage Month.
Yeah.
And I am STing the first time an entire Latin cast, and I'm going to be walking them through my very first role-playing game, which was Changeling the Dream. Yeah. So that's going to be on TTRPG Gifts. We are raising money for the charity. It's a charity for Puerto Rico. People, I don't know if you guys know, but Puerto Rico is kind of under water at the time right now. We have no electricity. My family's having some difficulties, so we're trying to raise as much money as possible to help the families in need out there. So if you're feeling generous, please come join us. Make the fairies look crazy. It's gonna be at 9 a.m. October 9th, and we're just gonna have a ball. But the other reason why those two are cheering is because there is another game that I'm also DMing. It's going to be coming up soon. Hopefully in October we'll be filming it and releasing it. So it's a D&D campaign of a wee bit of evil children. If anybody is aware, Ryan ran a game a long time ago, showing our age.
I know.
It was called Arcana High, where it featured some high school children. Well, they went up against a school of evil children, and now we are telling that story. So come join us for Whispered Academy when we get ready to do that.
I miss Arcana High so much.
Well, then you can come see Whispered Academy because we're just as cool. Anyways. Stay tuned to the social medias. I have a whole bunch of other things coming up. Some stuff that I can't talk about yet, but it's gonna be really cool. And also, yes, this is my hair.
Can I plug one last thing that I forgot?
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, you're beautiful.
I'm a staff member for Twin Mask LARP, which is
So
a game. Which is a game that at least half of the people performing for you today are active participants in. And yeah, some have already outed themselves as nerds. It's a really good time. I'm the head of the writing division. I write the rule book, and I think you should come out and check it out. It's based in Southern California, the Inland Empire, and it is. I believe we may more or less be the largest LARP in Southern California at this point.
So you're the largest LARP on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So there we are. We're the largest LARP on the West Coast. and it's pretty good, if I do say so myself. So if you're inclined to try LARPing and are willing to jump into a new experience with both feet, then we would be happy to welcome you to that. And
I have played for 11 years and never missed a game, so I love it.
Yeah, I think the people here will vouch for it.
Yes.
I think that's fair to
And
say.
as someone whose first ever LARP, and so far the only one I could go to was this year, was Twin Mask, I can vouch that that was the funnest thing I've ever done. It was the most welcoming thing I've ever done. People were absolutely fantastic. Highly, highly recommend. If you've never done LARP before, like I had, this was the perfect one to start with.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
If you like D&D, come be a bigger nerd.
Yes.
Yeah. Why limit yourself?
Yeah. Why limit yourself? Put on the cloak. Put on the cloak. Who's stopping you?
Come play with us.
You can stab me.
Oh my goodness. All right. I guess I better do mine. So hi, I'm Ryan Omega. I am your director for First Draft Clue, where the